Welcome to Mission Undercover. Joining me today is filmmaker and brand strategist Jake Isham. He helps founders and entrepreneurs improve through powerful storytelling. Jake has worked with over 150 entrepreneurs, creating content that's generated more than 1 billion views online. We will discuss the importance of digital media for businesses, how to be successful as a content creator and on social media, and the concept of perceived reality. So, Jake, I wanted to first ask you about your background. What was your childhood like, and what inspired you to become a filmmaker?
So I grew up in LA. You could say almost like a cliche LA kid where, wanting to be an actor and basically wanted to become a filmmaker because as I grew up acting, I was waiting for auditions, waiting for callbacks, and I basically then decided, screw it. Why don't I just write and direct my own films? And then from there, fell in love, went to film school and started learning film and just absolutely fell in love with the craft of filmmaking over the craft of acting.
Which project are you most proud of?
As a filmmaker,
Yeah.
hmm. Well, I don't know if there's one particular project. I mean, there's a film I made in college that I was very, very proud of. But I think each new one I make, the next one I'm the most proud of is the most recent one I did. Last year, I pushed myself to make 14 short films in 4 months, which was a lot of fun and definitely a big fun milestone and journey.
So, why do you think media is so important for businesses today?
Well, I think media is so important because, we are such an internet-based culture now. I mean, you look at somebody like even like I Show Speed, where he's in Africa at the moment, and you see like literally around the world, people are consuming media and consuming social media. And so for a company to gain those eyeballs and that attention is so important. And there's no better way to do it than through creating media and creating videos.
So, I think it'd be different based on what stage a business is at. So, talk me through how an aspiring business person would do it, how a startup would do it, and how an established firm would do it.
Sure. So I think it's relatively the same because if you're starting content for the first time, no matter where your business is, you're going to go through kind of these phases, which, in my opinion, would always start out with what social media platform do you like the most, or and what type of content do you like the most. So, for example, if you hate being on video, don't try to do video first. Now, I recommend doing if you're like I don't know, I'll do whatever. Video, I think, is the strongest medium to pick, but pick a platform that you like and just start building consistency in creating content. If that's once a week, if get it up to where you can be putting out a piece of content every day. Then from there is you want to start posting. Don't overthink it. Post the same piece of content on multiple platforms. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, X, you name it. And then it continued to graduate from there into going, okay, great. Now we're doing a lot of content across a lot of platforms. You can continue to increase the quality of the content, understand hooks better, understand the nuances of how content works, and then increase from there of going, okay, great. I'm going to make this piece of content specifically for LinkedIn. I'm going to make this content specifically for Instagram. But that's only after social media is working, it's helping grow your business, you're making money from it, like you're expanding. Like don't that is so far down the line. But that's the kind of the basic trajectory in terms of making content for social media, regardless of whatever brand you're doing. Now you can, if you're a established brand, you can kind of jump up and hire specialists and hire more team, but you're going to have to do that, go through those steps regardless.
What are the three most important things that someone should do if they want to make good content, high quality?
Pre-production is one of the most, arguably the most important things. That's the writing, the researching, the, understanding what is the content itself. From there, the structure of the content, and that's where I gotta go into storytelling, is how are we laying out this information or this idea and strategically kind of putting it out there. And one of the most important things with that is what's called a hook, which is that first sentence you say, that first image that pops up, that very first that first words that you're delivering. That is so important because you kind of live and die by that opening.
What do you recommend for a good hook? How can someone make a good hook to draw people into their video?
There's a million good hooks. There's not one hook that's the right or wrong. What I would do is I would go look at go research platforms and look at your niche, whatever niche that might be, and see what are other people using as good hooks. Go, look at what videos are getting over 1 million views, 5 million views, or, that are outliers. Okay, great. All their content gets, 500 views, and this one video got 500,000 views. Well, what was that? And that's the easy cheat code to find what are good hooks, is go look at your niche and go look at what are the other videos that are doing well. Don't copy the video, but understand what worked in that. For example, my brother's a singer-songwriter, and the other way to find out good hooks is you just do it. You just start going, bang, bang. You just put out more and more content. And he'd been working on content for over 2 years now, being consistent, putting it out. And literally just 2 days ago, he had a video that hit 5 million views in 48 hours. And we then dissected. He's like, oh, it's because this. I'm like, no. It's the structure in which you're doing it. It was like the 4 stages of my wife falling asleep to a movie. That right there is the hook. 4 stages. And so it was like, it's not the falling asleep. It's the 4 stages and 2, something relatable. So it's like the 4, it could be the 5 stages of my wife on a road trip, right? That's another hook, but it's using the same structure of the hook, which is blank number of steps for this relatable thing.
How can you maintain your originality while still learning from other people?
I mean, anything you do is going to be you. Even if the best way to learn, in my opinion, is to duplicate, especially coming from being an artist. You see constantly, like if you go to museums, you see fine artists literally copying the masters in the museums. And I'm a big believer in, if you duplicate enough, you go, oh, okay, I've understood, how do I do this? And then you can start putting your own twist on it, right? So which ties in perfectly with what we were just talking about, which is you go, okay, great, that was their hook. Why did that do well? What's my little spin to that? How can I make this slightly different? Ooh, can I change this? Can I change that? And then, if you put kind of 4 videos together, boom, it's an original video.
What sets apart people who grow and actually become successful from those who don't? Because there's a lot of people that have good content but don't actually get that accelerated growth that other people get. And what types of content, what types of businesses are successful in the modern age where it's a quite a focus on attention economy, trying to get the attention of people. And there's also a new emerging thing with AI. What types of things are most successful?
Well, there's several points to your question. To me, to be successful, first and foremost, is consistency. Like, don't if it happens in the first month, in the first 6 months, amazing. But like, be willing to just persist. That's going to be the first thing. Like, you have AI coming out now, as you said, like, you're going to always have the next barrier. If you look at the history of YouTube, where we had the adpocalypse, where people were making crazy money on that, and then it all got taken away. Yeah, you could give up and you could walk away from it and be like, oh, it doesn't make any more money. or you just keep growing, you pivot. And so the persistence on a given course is so, so important. The things that work the most right now are not going to be the things that work tomorrow. So you have to constantly be learning and constantly be doing it and putting it out there for you to be successful. And everything is going to be in its own, each niche is going to be slightly different, and it depends on your goals of your business. But the best things that you can do is just be authentic to your brand, stay on brand, right? You look at people have different seasons of kind of what's popular. I study a lot of entrepreneur content where you have like Gary Vee and Grant Cardone were really big a couple years ago, and many years ago in terms of like online educational gurus, whatever you want to call them, but now Alex Hormozy is come to the forefront as one of the big leaders in entrepreneurial data. And look at podcasting, where like you have a couple years ago, Diary of a CEO 7 years ago wasn't a thing. He just started 7 years ago and he's now the number 2 podcast in the world. So it's just persistence and fine tuning and learning and like not worrying about what everybody else is doing.
So how can content creators use what they have and use it to actually make money from it? How can they monetize it?
So it's a great question, because there's a subtle nuance between being kind of a business owner on social media and a content creator on social media, because they're two different intentions. The business owner, the goal is to procure business and to procure leads, where being a content creator, your goal is entertainment. And it could be education, but your goal is to get length of views rather than, as business owners, to get the right views. So like I work with a lot of B2B business owners, and I tell them, I'm like, if you had 10 leads that came into your door that were ready to, start today, you couldn't handle that. You couldn't handle 10 new clients today. Compared to, if you're a content creator and you're wanting to make a business out of that, your goal is to get as many views as possible. So just understanding that like your goal is entertainment. Now it could be through education also. Like, for example, I watch a lot of photography tutorials and whatnot. They're making money for that, but there's an aspect of it being entertaining. Because if I went, all right, guys, so here's this hard drive and it's really interesting, rather than if I made the video more interesting as an art form so that people want to buy the hard drive. So first, just understanding that nuance of like, what is the goal you're going for? Is how do you actually build your business? And so then the next thing is, even as an entertainer, you so need to understand what your niche is, right? Are you doing education videos? Who are you speaking to? And then studying the people who are doing well. There is so many people on YouTube and on social media that are already in your niche, which is fine, which is great, because it shows that there is, somebody doing it. So just look at what they're doing, look at their successful actions, and then you just have to start. And then you keep finding what is working by doing it.
Okay, so finally, I want to ask you about perceived reality and what that actually means. Explain why it's important and how you can create that to get success.
Sure. So many years ago, I was in Japan working with a nonprofit, and I had basically one day off to go have fun and shoot content for myself. I come back home and I start posting the content. And this was before, people would batch shoot it, and, they would post in real time at this time in social media. And then from there, I basically learned one Sunday morning, I'm looking at Facebook and I see a buddy who, had this great fun party that I missed out on. And I was like, and I text him like, hey, where was my invite? Why did I know about this? And he's like, dude, you're in Japan right now. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm sitting on my couch. Because he had been seeing my photos that I've been posting over the last couple of weeks. And that's when I kind of really realized you are what you post on social media. And so that's where that perceived reality is. And I'm not saying go rent a private jet and, pretend like you're flying private, but you are what you post. So if you want to be known as a, let's say comedy content creator, well, make sure all the videos you post are comedy. Don't post your food. Don't post food reviews because people are going to think that you're a food reviewer. If you own this business, well, talk about your business. Don't talk about, talk about what you know. So that's where understanding what type of content to create is so important, because when people look you up, they look you up on social media now. They look up your website, but they look at your Instagram, they look at your YouTube, they look at your LinkedIn. And so if you are not posting content regarding that, they're going to go, oh, okay. I do these kind of social media audits all the time. And I'll look at business owners and I see photos. Like if you just look at a glance at their Instagram is kind of the best way. If they're posting photos of their dog and then their kids and then they're this and they're that, like, okay, you have a family. Rather than, oh, every video is about their business. Well, then they're a business owner. And so that's kind of the easiest way is to look at your social and it's like, what are you? And that's how I kind of go about, talking about perceived reality. It's just kind of post the reality you want people to know you by.
So, do you think people should have separate accounts to post their personal stuff to get a deeper connection, and then a different account for their professional stuff?
I think it's a subtle nuance in terms of sprinkling in the personal stuff. So, like, I like to use, especially in the business space, is I think two great examples of the slight nuances: Grant Cardone versus Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. If you look at Gary V, he doesn't post anything about his family, anything about his kids, anything about his personal life. But he does sprinkle in aspects of his personal life, being a huge Jets fan, being a huge, likes garage selling. But those are related to him as a business owner, compared to Grant Cardone, who posts his family, who posts his vacations, who posts about his kids, about his wife. But again, it's related to business. It's, hey, here's me being a father and teaching my daughters a business lesson. Here's how I work with my wife. Here's how it's all related still around business. And I think there's great sprinklings of personal life so that you are relatable. But if it's just that, people then go, and you're like, to me, it's like an 80-20 thing, where like for me, I'll post, I'm at the gym working out, but I'll do it on my Instagram story. Right. So that's people who are already following me, compared to, oh, here me talking about business, me talking about social media, and then I'm going to the gym or I'm eating food, but like that's an Instagram story. Or great, it is a LinkedIn post, but it's one out of 6, 5 marketing tips, different posts about marketing and content creation and social media and branding, and then a personal life post. And so it's just a balance rather than the opposite.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. How can people get in touch with you and access any services you might have?
Sure. LinkedIn is fantastic. That's a great way. Otherwise, if you Google my name, you'll see my photography, you'll see my filmmaking, you'll see the marketing advice, and I'm on all the social media platforms that, and I'm more than happy to help, and just feel free to reach out, DM me.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah.
everyone for watching and listening. Please make sure to subscribe, share, and follow wherever you're listening from. This has been Mission Undercover. Thank you so much for watching.